guys, I'm Bella of Bella's Custom Crochets. You can find me pretty much everywhere online by that name. Facebook, Instagram, Ravelry, Etsy, Pinterest, all the big places. I'm there as Bella's Custom Crochets. I'll also link all of the important information in the down bar below, and anything that I might miss you can find on my website bellascustomcrochets.com with all the various linkage to all the important stuff. So anyway, I wanted to get on today because I've done a couple videos. This is my channel, my podcast, my crochet inspiration network. I don't know. We haven't really defined what this channel, I guess, is going to really be, other than a fun place for people who like yarn. But I've realized I've put out 2 videos at this point with a kind of a teaching, informational type twist on them about how to set up for a craft fair and some lingo on crochet and knit terminology. I want to focus a lot on maybe, I don't know, teaching is the right word, but gearing my videos towards maybe people who are new to the fiber arts community, new to crocheting, new to making handmade items to sell. That's something I really want to focus on, but I also really kind of want to get into this whole podcast realm. I think that as far as crochet goes, it's kind of underrepresented in the fiber arts world, at least as far as social media and podcasts, which also podcast is ridiculous because podcasts are audio, but everybody calls their YouTube shows a podcast, so that's what we're calling it. But there's not a lot of people who exclusively crochet out there. I do knit as well, but all of my knitting is as a hobby. But I make and design crochet items as a job. It's what I do. So I would like to put another face behind crochet, I guess, another voice, I don't know, I just know that a lot of people still associate crocheting with that really scratchy 70s yarn and those Afghans on the back of your grandma's couch, and I'm passionate about making crochet modern and vibrant is kind of my business tagline. And also, there's a time and a place for every yarn, be it the yarn that you can get for $2.99 or the yarn that's going to cost you $35. There is a time and place for all of that yarn, and crocheters are welcome to use it. So as you can see, I have your store-bought box store acrylic behind me, and I am wearing some beautiful hand-dyed merino in a design that I designed myself. This is the Dandelion Dance shawl, in case anyone is wondering. I will link that as well below. But yeah, I'm really passionate about crochet is for everyone, all the yarn is for everyone, and you don't have to be afraid of using the fancy yarn that a lot of the knitters are using. So I like showcasing that in a lot of my designs. But all this to say, I wanted to get on here and kind of share who I am and how I got here, because I realized a lot of people might be coming over straight from YouTube and might not be familiar with me as a person or a crocheter or a designer, or really have no idea who I am or where I came from. If you would like a much more articulate, less rambly version with less arm motions and glasses fixing, you can find that on my website as well in the About section. There is a whole long story of my fiber journey and how I got here, because I'll probably miss something, I'm sure. And if you would like the more articulate version of that, you can find that on my website. But basically, I've been rehearsing this over to myself in my car. I'm talking to myself like a weirdo, but I think I've got most of the points down, and hopefully I'll be able to lay this out for you in a way that's quick and makes sense. This is kind of going to be the, I guess, prequel to a podcast. Today I'm not going to be talking about any works in progress or designs or anything I bought or really anything other than myself and my fiber story, I guess, my fiber journey, how I got here, why I do what I do. So yeah, I'm Bella. We've established that. I design under Bella's Custom Crochets / Isabella Tonsky is my actual name. So if you're familiar with either of those, that's me. And I have been crocheting like a lot of people, my story kind of started and stopped and is in sections and choppy, but I learned as a kid, probably about 8, from my grandmother, but it didn't really stick. I got the basic chain down, and I thought if I just got really good at chaining, that chain would be like miles long. It would eventually turn into something. Like if I just chained really well, it would eventually be a sweater or something. And I didn't understand you have to build on that and shaping and all that stuff. So I actually learned how to knit first, so that stuck a little bit better than the crocheting. But both of them I dropped because they were grandmotherly hobbies, and I wanted nothing to do with that. I was a pretty tomboyish kid, and fiber arts just wasn't my thing as a kid. But I picked it back up again in high school about 12, 13-ish years ago. So yeah, I'm not in high school currently, I know it looks like. But I picked it back up, and I think it was kind of with the rise of Etsy and Ravelry at that point. Got back into it, and the first thing I designed was a like safety cone orange ear flap with the braided tassels and pom-poms and fox ears? Is this a fox? Bright orange fox hat, which is why I use that fox face as my logo now. Foxes are my favorite animal because they're a perfect little feisty cat dog, which is kind of what I feel like I am. A little spazzy all over the place. A little bit cat, a little bit dog. I don't know. I guess if a spirit animal was a thing, a fox would be mine. So yeah, that was the first thing I crocheted, and then from there I really didn't stop. It finally stuck, and I realized that I had much more maneuverability, ability to manipulate, I guess, the stitches how I wanted them to be and to make the shapes that I wanted, and just a better understanding, I guess, of the crocheting, knitting, even still to this day. I can follow a pattern, but I'm not good at looking at something and deconstructing it, whereas crochet I can make anything at this point, and I love that. Something else you should know about me is I am a Christian, and at the core of my being, I believe that I was creatively created to create, and that's kind of what defines not only my business but everything about me. I've always been very creative, whether it was crochet or something else. Growing up, I had a art studio in like the utility closet of our basement, like next to the furnace in this little like sliding louver door room. And I got up like ridiculous hours of the morning so I could do crafts before school. I've always had a desire to make stuff. And I'm a very strong believer in the fact that everybody has creativity in them, whether it's something in a traditional artistic form or it manifests some other way, like creative thinking or like mathematically engineering, all those things. There's definitely some creativity involved in there. But for me, it's always been something artsy, and crochet is my main thing now, obviously. So somewhere in that journey of learning to crochet, I just started crocheting stuff for my family, for my friends. The story gets a little convoluted somewhere, but I think I made a Facebook page under a totally different business name at this point, and I was selling different animal ear hats, like my fox one. I was doing bears and dogs and all sorts of other things. I was sewing little felt faces and eyes, and that was the main thing that I was doing. My siblings all had tons of hats. I'm the oldest of 8 kids, so I got a lot of practice on hat making. But yeah, it got to the point where I had all the hats I needed, all the scarves I needed, all the crocheted goods that I needed. So did my siblings, and basically everyone that I knew. So I was just stockpiling crocheted stuff. And fast forward maybe a little bit, timeline's kind of wonky here, but got married to my husband Jojo, who at the time was in the Air Force. So he was already living in Washington State. We live in Connecticut currently. That's where we were both born and raised, I guess. So we've come back here, we own a house here, settled down, but at the time he was in the Air Force. We uprooted to Washington State, and that was the first time that I had lived somewhere else other than my little small town area that I grew up in, and I kind of, I guess, fell in a bit of a rut or some depression or whatever you want to call it. It was a bit of a culture shock, I guess, for me, going from living in a town where I recognized so many people and so many people knew my name, and I had grown up in the same church, and I had all these friends, and it is a very familiar, comfortable place, to uprooting to Washington State, which was absolutely gorgeous, and we loved it there, and I was obviously very happy to be with my husband and all of that, but it was so weird being in a place where I no longer knew anybody. I didn't have a job. I was in school online at that point, so I had like no human interaction other than my husband and the occasional military spouse. So that was just very strange for me. And I wasn't working, like I said, so I was home while my husband was at work, and it very quickly overwhelmed me. So the crocheting became an outlet for me for anxiety, depression, and just not feeling like I had any purpose at that time. I'm very much a person that needs a schedule, needs to be busy, needs something to do, and the crocheting kind of became that for me. So again, I was just stockpiling crocheted stuff, and my husband was like, you really could be selling this stuff. And he has always been my main encourager in things, which is funny because I don't think he would describe himself as an encourager, and he's not necessarily, I don't know how to put it, but he pushes me. He's my drive when I don't want to do things. I'm very much a personality type. I don't know what personality test this falls into, but I don't want to do something unless I'm good at it, or if I know I'm going to succeed at it. I'm not a big risk taker or a step outside my comfort zone. So he's the reason I do things, and he was like, you could sell these. So I kind of upped the selling on Facebook, and I started doing local craft fairs at like churches and high schools, and just some small stuff locally in the outside of the military base that we were on. And it started working. Like, people wanted the stuff I was making. It's totally different than what I'm making now. I was really focused on doing like the animal hats. Like I said, I was doing a lot of amigurumi. At the time I was doing a lot of character stuff. I don't do that anymore because copyright infringement isn't cool, you guys. But that's what I was doing then. And I was doing well at it. And so yeah, I was kind of I was nannying part-time and then crocheting part-time. And it was a good little side hustle, I guess. But then his time in the Air Force ended. We moved back home to Connecticut, settled back down. I started working. It wasn't a career, but I was working as a waitress and doing very well at it. And I was kind of like, this crochet thing, I don't have time for this now. Not going to be a business anymore. Told my husband he could get rid of the domain name that he had purchased for our website. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to still crochet, obviously, forever, but I'm not going to do this as a business. And he was like, yeah, no, whatever. He didn't get rid of the domain name, and he kept pushing me to keep doing it. So after a couple years of waitressing full-time, I started doing a little bit of crochet, like craft fairs, Christmas markets and stuff on the side, and realized again, yeah, I really love this. This is really something that I'm passionate about. And I think that was like the end of 2017. So I was still working full-time, and I was crocheting every possible spare minute that I had when I got home from work at night, and doing events in the fall and winter. And yeah, beginning of 2018 is when I really dove into doing it professionally. Like, I know what I'm doing. I don't, guys. I'm still making this up as we go. But yeah, that's when I registered my business name, started the website, tax ID number, all that legit stuff. And really wanted to start treating it as a business and not just a hobby. And then fast forward a little bit more, our daughter was born in November of 2018, so she's almost a year old, and that's terrifying. Depending on when this video goes up, she might already be a year old, I don't know, but basically she's about a year old now. And so she was born, and I was able to take some time off work, and I was home with her, and I got really good at feeding a baby and holding a sleeping baby while crocheting, and it was a very wanted to be held baby, which I absolutely love, but it was a lot early on. She wouldn't sleep unless she was like being bounced, so I was like sitting on a bouncy ball, crocheting, holding a baby. I got a lot of hats made in that time. The majority of my inventory for this fall was made in that bouncing a baby on a bouncy ball phase. But yeah, that was November. I was supposed to go back to work in February, I think. But come January, my husband and I talked about it, and we decided that I was going to leave my waitressing job and really pursue the crocheting as full-time as I possibly could. So yeah, now it's almost November of 2019, so I've been at this for 11-ish months, give or take. And yeah, so I've been a business for about 2 years, and I have been a full-time maker mama boss lady for about a year. Obviously the momming comes first, and my daughter's schedule is very much all over the place still, very much I don't know when she's gonna sleep, but when she sleeps I get stuff done. And yeah, I love being able to adjust my schedule to fit hers. I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm really looking forward to doing that with her and being able to mold this around different phases of her life and teach her how to be a crafty boss lady. So really enjoying that. We're in the peak of my market season right now. Usually September to December I do a ton of events selling finished products. The rest of the year I'm working on inventory. I also design patterns. I think at this point I've published under my own business name 10 patterns. There's an 11th that was with another company, so I don't own the rights with that. But basically 10 or 11 patterns in, working on a couple more right now. I have about 3 that are in works in progressy phase. So yeah, and now I have a blog, Bella's Custom Crochets /blog. Again, all linked below. So I'm blogging, and apparently I'm on YouTube now. I don't know. We're kind of just making this up as we go, seeing what sticks. From a crafty business perspective, you definitely have to kind of have your eggs in different baskets, unless you're like some sort of overnight sensation. The majority of craft businesses aren't making all their money in one spot, so I'm trying a whole bunch of different things, trying to spread out my creativity into different realms. I am very grateful that my husband, did I say his name is Jojo? I don't remember. My husband's name is Jojo, Joseph. Call him Jojo. He's the best. We've been married for close to 8 years at this point. And yeah, he is very technological, and his creativity comes out in totally different ways than mine. He is what I call a computer whisperer. He works as a software designer, website developer, which comes in really handy when I am terrible at that stuff. So he has made my entire website from scratch. He is working on making a store for me to sell finished items and patterns in. He's now editing my YouTube videos. So yeah, I speak knitting and crocheting, and he speaks computer. And we mesh together just lovely. So that's that. I think that's the majority of the story that you need to know about me. This channel, I'm really not sure where I'm going with it. Like I said, this is kind of maybe a podcast prequel. I wanted to establish who I am and why I'm talking to you guys. I think that's the majority of what I wanted to say. I crochet. I'm a mom. I like food. I don't know if I have a favorite food. Sometimes it's just carbs. Sometimes it's tacos. Sometimes it's fruit. I just like food. We have 2 cats. Their names are Jacopo and Princess Buttercup. They are actual brother and sister. They are 2 little black cats, and it might have made more sense to name them like Princess Buttercup and Wesley, but because they were brother and sister, that was weird. And I wanted to name them Jacopo and Zatara. Those are Count of Monte Cristo references. All of our cats have had literary names. We're cat people. But yeah, Jacopo and Princess Buttercup are our cats. Like I said, I have an almost year-old daughter. We call her Rue. And that's pretty much my life right now. I have had many other creative ventures. I sold jewelry for a while. I dabbled in cake decorating. Like I said, I knit still, but not on a business capacity. I'm sorry the sunlight is sneaking through the window. This is just the setup of I'm sitting on the floor in my could call it an office, but really it's our guest room that houses my crafty stuff because I do most of my work on the couch. But yeah, this is the guest room, music room, craft room. I'm sitting on the blocking mats on the floor with some pillows and some yarn. And this is pretty much going to be my spot for filming. If I move over a little bit, I'll be less in the light. Yeah, I think that's pretty much me, guys. If you have any questions, definitely drop them down below. I'm doing my best to answer all the comments. And like I said, going forward, I would really like to get into podcasting. I don't have a set schedule, like I said, because of my daughter. It's very much, if she's sleeping, I get stuff done, and if she's not, I don't. And I'm totally okay with that. That's just where I am in life right now. And at some point, I think it would be really fun to do some podcasting because, like I said, there's not a ton of crocheters out there doing it. There's a ton of knit podcasts, and there are definitely some really good crochet ones, but the ratio of knit to crochet is kind of off balance. So I would like to jump in that gap maybe, and I also want to start doing tutorials to go along with some of my patterns as far as stitches and stuff, and maybe just some other basic. I have a whole lot of ideas in mind. It's just a matter of getting them filmed and up to you guys and having my husband edit them because I'm overwhelmed by that, and apparently he really likes it, so yay, teamwork. But yeah, I need to get a couple more things as far as setup for tutorials, so for right now, I'm just sitting on my floor rambling about whatever's on my mind. And hopefully y'all like listening. If you don't, that's fine. I really appreciate if you do like and subscribe. Liking is awesome. Subscribing is even awesomer. If you really want to be top notch, you can turn on those notifications so you'll know when I post anything because, like I said, it's going to be sporadic. Yep, got a blog, got an Instagram, got a Facebook. You can be my friend all the places. I really appreciate you listening to me ramble. I'm going to hopefully ramble at you again soon. And yeah, if you have any requests as far as either tutorials or stuff as far as making or business owning or mom bossing or any of that, I would love some suggestions because I want to put out content that's going to be interesting to what you guys are into. So let me know there. And yeah, it's going to just be kind of stream of consciousness of me and what I'm working on at that time or what I'm designing. I'd like to help you guys with the design process, maybe stuff I've learned in the last year or two. I am definitely not a professional on any of these topics. I am not an expert, but I love what I do. I am very passionate about it, and I'm passionate about seeing other people walk in their creative potential as well. So I'd love to encourage you in that. And yeah, I also want this podcast, or whatever we're calling this channel to be very family friendly, I guess. Not that your kids want to watch me talk about crocheting. If they do, they're awesome. You go, kids. Live your creative lives. But I am definitely one that you're not going to have earbuds in or anything like that as far as what might come out of my mouth or whatever. It's just not me. So yeah, I want it to be a friendly, happy place for whoever wants to be here. I appreciate you. And yeah, if you want to follow, subscribe, whatever, cool. And if you don't, I'm not going to make you. I don't want to be pushy. But thank you for being here for my little fiber adventure. Thank you for being interested in me and what I do. And I'd love to hear more about you and what you do and what you would like to hear from me. So thanks for joining in on my little journey, and hopefully I'll be talking to you guys soon on some other fascinating crochet content. Thanks, guys. Bye.